Hi, we're going to talk today about entrepreneurship and business law. Okay, so entrepreneurship is the process of starting up a business, and an entrepreneur is the person who sees that opportunity and they risk their time and their money and they start up a business with obviously the goal of making a lot of money. So some of the skills that all entrepreneurs need to have is they need to have critical thinking skills, problem solving, they need to be creative and innovative, they have to have time and energy management. And let me kind of emphasize that energy management because it is a lot of work to be an entrepreneur. And then also they have to have personal and professional selling. They're not just selling their product, they're also getting people to believe in them. And then some of the characteristics of an entrepreneur, and this is like a lot of studies that people have done and they found like these common characteristics, okay? But I'm sure we'll find things surprising us throughout time and stuff like that. But one is just self-confidence, the need for achievement. Obviously, if they're not going out there wanting to achieve and doing things, like they're not, I mean, it's just not going to work, right? We're not going to get a new company going. They also have to have a tolerance for ambiguity and risk. And ambiguity just means like uncertainty. Like we are not quite sure how we're going to handle all of these situations. We're not sure what's going to come up. Tolerance for risk. Like, am I okay if I lose some money? Am I okay if this gets wasted? Like, I'm going to roll the dice and take a gamble, right? And then they also have lots of energy. So what is the startup process? So first of all, let me make a shameless plug for Management 2020 Entrepreneurship. It's often taught by Phil Nelson, and he's awesome. So take it from him. He's an amazing entrepreneur. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is offer a solution to a problem, which means you've identified a problem, right? There's something out there that you think could be improved by being simplified, or you could add a new service to something, or you can combine two products to make one product. You can take a product from one market and adapt it to fit another market. So for example, like Henry Ford did this with the manufacturing, with the assembly line. Like assembly lines had existed, they just had existed in like butchering, like in butcher shops. And so he was like, wait, I can put that in my factory, and then thus got a lot of competitive advantage and efficiency through that, right? You can also change the materials on something and you can find a cheaper way to make a product. Any of these things. The more disruptive you are, the more likely you are to make money though. So then you need to plan and analyze. And one way is through quantitative research and evaluation. So this is where we're going to use like mathematical analysis and data to inform decisions. So this is going to be like, we're going to take surveys, we're going to find out what groups of people like, and then we're going to kind of get the size of the market. So we're going to kind of realize, hey, my product is really well suited for like young men ages 18 to 25 or something like that, okay? Then we also do qualitative research and evaluation, and this is where we gather feedback. We get stories, we get sentiments, like how do people feel about things, inspirationals, ways to improve, things like that. And then it can also include like learning about people's habits, their attitudes, and their feelings about a product. Now, anytime we're doing research, quantitative or qualitative, there's obviously ethics involved in this. And it's really important to remember that researchers and scientists, that you keep ethical practices. Like we're going to keep privacy in check. Like we're going to know, not disclose necessarily information. Like if somebody is giving us some feedback, but it could get them in trouble somewhere else, so we want to keep their identity, anonymous for them or give them a pseudonym. We want to keep our information and our data like secure and ethical and accurate, and we go through all the proper procedures. A lot of times there's going to be an overseeing body when it comes to research. I mean, when you're doing an entrepreneur, you can go out there and find your own stuff, but if you're doing research like myself at a professor, the college has to oversee the research that I do and things like that. So we want to make sure that everything is done like well and ethically, and that we're taking consideration that we're getting information from people. Like people can't just be test subjects to us, right? Like they're still people with real minds, and we cannot leave them, like they have to be, like we can't just use them for information and leave them worse off than when we started working with them, okay? So we also need to gain knowledge about the business and the marketplace. So one, read about the business, talk to people, get experience, get some education. All these things will really help with getting information and launching the business. Okay, then you have to create a business plan. And a business plan is a document that outlines the goals, the methods of achieving them, and the way we measure success. It's going to help get financing, and it can help you work through the details of a business. Now, I know a lot of people who just start a business without a business plan and they just go for it. And you can. It's totally fine. It's not like you have to have a business plan, but I would highly suggest you have a business plan, okay? Just think through all of the fine points. So here are the summaries or the elements of one. One is an executive summary. Then is your market analysis. Like, remember how we talked about a couple slides ago that you need to have this quantitative or qualitative analysis? That's that, and that's where you put that in there. A description of your business, a management plan, like who's going to be part of this. Your sales and marketing plan, like how are you going to get this out to people? What's your financial plan? Like, when do you break even? When will you be making money? How are you making money? Like, what's your financial model? And then the executive plan, which is going to have like your main goals and initiatives, and then how you're going to accomplish these. So there's different ways that you can finance a startup. One is called bootstrapping, and that's just your own personal savings, credit cards, and second mortgages, things like that, using your own funding. When I bought my first company in 2010, there were no loans for small businesses. We're at like peak of a recession, and so bootstrapping was the only option. I had to use my own savings and my own credit cards, yes, in my name, not in a company's name. So if we went under, it was on me. And that was how we got the company going. You can also get family and friends to give you money, but please, if you do that, put it in writing and exactly how much you owe them back, plus interest, all those stipulations, okay? You can have supplier and barter agreements. So a lot of times you can buy a product, but you don't have to pay it back for 90 days. And so you can like use the product or sell it and then use that money that you made to then pay the bill. You can get loans from financial institutions, like a bank or credit union will give you a loan. You can go through the SBA to get an SBA-backed loan, which is specific for small businesses. You can get angel investors or venture capitalists, and those are like Shark Tank people, if you think about it that way. They're individuals and corporations that invest, and then they own a portion of your company as well. If you are a corporation, which we'll talk about different kinds of companies later on, then you can put up stock offerings and have people purchase those, and you can get money through stock offerings. You can do crowdfunding like Kickstarter or other community development funds, like things that are within your community that they've got grants or different things out there for companies like yours. Okay, so now Okay, let me make a shameless plug for Management 2030, Small Business Management SLCC. This class is awesome because it really goes into the nitty-gritty daily stuff that you need to have as a small business manager. Like, you're going to hire employees, and these are the forms that you need to have for them, and here they are. And you need to have a way to take money, payments, and here's some ways to take money and make payments and things like that. So, awesome class, very practical. Okay, so small businesses make up a huge portion of the U.S. economy. And what makes a company small versus large? And one is that they're independently owned and operated. So, like, they're not part of a larger corporation or part of the United States government. They're just like, or any government, they're just on their own. They're not dominant in their fields. They meet some criteria set by the SBA for employees and in revenue. Most have to have fewer than 500 employees, but most small businesses have less than 100 employees. So 53% of small businesses are run out of people's homes, and they use $10,000 or less in financing, which is pretty cool. So that means like most people are just kind of like just setting up shop and going. Small business is the backbone of America, and they are a major source of jobs. They drive growth and innovation in our economy. One of the questions that comes up when starting a small business is, do you want to start your own business from scratch, or should you buy an existing one? The first company I ever started, I actually bought an existing company, and I will tell you from my experience that that was fantastic. I don't think I would have spent less money had I started it from scratch. And then there was lots of stuff that were already in place for me. I had the equipment, I already had signage, I had vendors, I had a great loyal customer base, and I was able to kind of just jump in and keep the company going where it was at. So for me, that was a great choice. But for other people, they want something totally fresh and new, which is also great. So a lot of small businesses fail. In fact, most of them do in the first few years. So let's kind of talk about why. So one is inadequate management skills. People jump in and they do not know what they're doing. So being here, obviously that helps a lot. Learning what you can, learn from your mistakes. Also, a lack of financial support. It always costs more than you think it's going to cost. Just know that. Also, there's a lot of difficulty in hiring and keeping good employees. Like, a lot of employees suck. They just do. I'm sure you're not one of them, right? Me neither. I'm a great employee. But it can be really hard to find and keep good people. Also, we've got tons of competition, and they can be really aggressive. And then there's just tons of government paperwork. There's taxes. Small businesses get stacked with taxes, and those are really difficult sometimes for a small company to manage. Plus, you're collecting sales tax, and if you don't keep that separate from your own tax money, you end up spending it, and then you have to send in sales tax, and it's a whole mess, all right? Okay, so here's my own personal advice for success, okay? So first of all, when starting your own business, and these are all just like hard lessons learned from my own entrepreneurial adventures, okay? So one, budget for your highest expenses and your lowest revenue. So that way you're always budgeting for worst case scenario, okay? Hire a business lawyer to create contracts for you and help you identify regulations and laws that are specific to your industry. The worst thing that can ever happen to you in a company is to not know that you didn't know something, okay? And it's just not an excuse. Like, you still have to pay these things, or you still will get cited, or you still get in trouble. Like, you just don't want to get blindsided, okay? That's where it's okay to put some money into another expert. Also, hire an accountant or purchase accounting software to track all your money, okay? Tracking money is like key, and it needs to be classified and have classifications, and you need to follow some good accounting practices, okay? Set aside 30% of your revenue for taxes. Just plan that that's going to get taxed. And if you don't end up getting taxed, you're able to write off more, then yay for you. But if not, you have it set aside, because the worst thing that happens is getting slammed with taxes. And you do pay taxes quarterly in a company. You have to send in what you think you owe every quarter. At least that's here in Utah. Okay. Put collected sales tax in a separate account, because it has to be sent into the state every quarter as well, and you cannot spend it. That's money you collected for the government, not your own money. So when you charge sales tax, make sure you're charging the right amount and you're sending it to the right place. You need to stay involved in the business. Don't just be like, oh, it's running, I got a good manager, and like step aside. Always stay involved in your businesses. Develop your employees. Reward them in a variety of ways. Sometimes a $5 gift card can go a long way, or letting them know how much you appreciate them and care about them, taking care of them, making sure the place is clean and safe, okay? Leverage debt. Don't be buried by it. You're going to need some debt to help yourself progress and move forward, but don't bury yourself in so much debt that the company can't get out of it. And then please put everything in a contract, especially with family. Everything goes in writing. Okay, so we've got some different forms of ownership, and these are what are recognized here in the United States. So 1 is sole proprietorship, 2, partnership, 3, corporation, and 4, limited liability companies. So sole proprietorship, this just means one owner. It's super easy. It's just like you say, today I want to own a business, I want to go do this, then go do it. I'm going to mow this lawn for $40. You get your $40, and guess what? You just started a business. Okay, a sole proprietorship. So here's some of the benefits. It's an easy startup. You just start working and you start making your money, done. Okay, you get to make all the decisions. Your taxes are relatively simple. You just like tell the government, this is how much I made from this company, and you pay your taxes on it. If you want the business to end, you just say, it's over, I'm done. Okay, I mowed the one lawn and I'm done. My company's now over. Okay, and there's no official government paperwork. Here are the drawbacks. There's unlimited liability. Like, let's say you're mowing that lawn and you run over some wiring that they had in their yard, and you just messed up their sprinklers. That's now on you. You pay for that. Okay, and if they sue you, I'm not sure how you'd get sued for mowing lawn, but let's say you had another company that was a little larger and then you got sued, they would sue you personally. You could lose your house, your car, everything. You are the company, you get sued. You also might have limited financial resources, like you might only have the lawnmower that you own, right? Or you only have the money you have. And it's all on you, the stress, the money, everything, it's just you. And then also you can't sell or pass along this business because it's you. Okay, the other one is partnership, and this is 2 or more owners. Again, it's an easy startup. It's a lot like sole proprietor, but there's just more than one person, okay? So easy startup, working and making money. You've got the advantage of resources and skills of multiple people now, though, and it's still relatively simple through your taxes. The business ends when you guys decide it ends, and again, there's no official government paperwork, but a contract between you and your partners is always smart. Some of the drawbacks, again, unlimited liability. If somebody sues you, they sue all of you, and they can sue you personally. You still might have limited financial resources, just whatever you guys have pooling together. I think the biggest drawback is definitely this personality of conflicts. You guys can get in arguments, and then if one person wants to go one way and the other one wants to go another, that's a problem, right? And then again, you can't sell or pass along this business, and if your partners don't want to end the business, they don't have to, right? It can cause some issues there. Okay, the other one we have are corporations, and corporations are definitely filed with the government, okay? They kind of become like their own little person. It's like they're born into the world. So they have very little or no liability. Okay, so if that company gets sued, just the company gets sued, not you personally. You never lose your house, you never lose your car, you don't lose anything if you get sued. It's all just the company. There are tax breaks for corporations. You can access tons of financial resources, including selling stock, which means just selling parts of your company off to raise money. You could have access to more managerial expertise and talent. You can bring on a board of directors, things like that. And you can easily sell ownership or shares to continue the business. You can even sell the whole company off to somebody else, or just sell your shares and it continues on without you. But some of the drawbacks are you do have a lot of paperwork and ongoing paperwork. You get double taxed. Corporations get double taxed. Let me say that again, double taxed. The way this works is let's say a corporation made $100,000. They're going to then pay taxes on that, and let's say they're at a 20% rate. So $20,000 goes to the government. We now have 80%. We're going to take that 80% and we're going to give it all to the shareholders, which let's say I'm the full shareholder, and so 80% comes to me, or $80,000 comes to me. I then have to pay taxes on that as my own personal gain. So that $80,000 gets taxed again at 22%. That's my tax rate, right? But we'll just go with easier numbers. So I then take another $16,000, $17,000-ish, and send that to the government. So the government got $37,000 off of that, right? And then I saw what was left. Does that make sense? So the corporation pays, then it pays everybody else, and then everybody else pays based on their tax rate. You have to publicly disclose all financial information, and it's very difficult paperwork to terminate a corporation. But you have to be very transparent. It's public. It's a public company. You have to be very transparent. Okay, then we have limited liability companies. And in this, just know that owners are called members. That's just important to know. Also, if you're I'm not sure how I should set up my company. I don't know. Should I do a corporation, an LLC? This is called an LLC, right? A sole proprietor partnership. I'm just going to tell you, go do an LLC. Absolutely, 100%, hands down. If you're not sure, this is the one to go to, okay? It has very little or no liability, exactly what its name says. There are tax breaks. The taxes are simple, though. They're not double taxed. The taxes work the same as a sole proprietor, where it flows through your own personal taxes. It's pretty easy to set up. There's not a lot of paperwork, though there is paperwork. You will file this with the state and create your LLC, and then they'll have you go through and get a tax account set up through them and a few things like that. And you do have access to some loans as small business supports where you wouldn't as a sole proprietor. Now, some of the drawbacks, you are subject to self-employment taxes, so you do get charged that self-employment tax on your taxes. LLCs have a limited lifespan. They don't last indefinitely the way a corporation does. You do have some limited growth potential because you cannot issue stocks or go public, and you do have to follow state requirements. You can, instead of opening up your own company or setting up your own company, you can always go with a franchise. And this is an arrangement in which business owners allow others the rights to use its name, sell its goods and services within a specific geographical area. So some really common franchises would be like McDonald's, Wendy's, a lot of fast food restaurants, Chick-fil-A, Cold Stone. They're all franchises. We also have what are called mergers and acquisitions. And mergers are when two firms join together and become a new firm. I have gone through a merger. It's rough. It's really, really rough. The merger I was with was when Stevens Henniger merged with Independence University. And it literally kind of became more of an acquisition than a merger. And an acquisition is when a company just buys another company and kind of takes them over. And then there's a hostile takeover when an outsider comes in and buys up enough shares to take control of the whole corporation against the corporation's will. But just know this can only happen in a corporation. This wouldn't happen in an LLC, so proprietor or partnership.